And of course, like you discover that like art practice shouldn't be about, creating paths for yourself. Like the practice is the path, like doing it is the path. And anything that comes afterwards is just like extra cool stuff. But like really the path to like becoming for me, comics were a path to becoming a more integrated self, a more like well-rounded self.
Welcome to the Tending Creativity podcast. This is a podcast about creativity, and it centers the art and perspectives of artists of marginalized genders. My name is Marissa, and I'm your host. I'm super excited for today's episode. I got to interview Lily Rushing, aka Goofwench. Lily is an illustrator and comic artist, as well as a playwright. Yeah, she makes super fun and whimsical comics based around her character Spikewench. Yeah, they're just super funny and I love them so much. She also has a shop where she sells stickers and prints of her work. I actually have one of her prints that says, it's like a person in a little house and it says, a little freak lives here. I'm not sure if that's exactly the wording, but I love that. And I absolutely love her style. Yeah, so I got to talk to her about, actually, which I didn't even realize until I actually got to talk to her, was that she went to school for playwriting. So we talked about that and how she kind of started to discover the comic scene while she was in college and getting into that, and then like how her style has developed into what it is today, her goals for her work, her process for creating comics and illustrations, as well as her experience with her shop and just fun stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed talking to Lily and I hope that you enjoy this episode as well. I'm sure you will. So I'll just get right to it. Would you be able to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Lily Rushing, aka Goofwench on Instagram, and I'm a cartoonist and comics artist, illustrator, and playwright.
Cool. So I wanted to ask you about your relationship with creativity as a child. What was that like?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was little, I was one of those kids that like didn't really talk to adults. And so my mom found a teacher was like, you should sign her up for theater because like when she speaks, she's going to get the positive reinforcement of like people clapping and stuff. And so she was like, it might be good for her to be in that, even if she's just like a bit character, like a 2-line character. She'll also be like interacting with other kids after school instead of just like going home. And so she did that, and then that kind of just really got me like hooked into theater and just the arts in general. And when I was little, I really liked shows like Adventure Time and Flapjack, and so I would like make a lot of Adventure Time fan art and Cartoon Network fan art. And that's kind of like where it all got started, as just a way to like figure out how to, I think, communicate with other people. And just like, I think that's definitely where I think my relationship with creativity was when I was little, it was just like an easier way to communicate with people other than just like, like talking or conversation or trying to navigate like, social norms or whatever, which were always kind of weird and hard. I think weird and hard for everyone. And so creativity and like art making was just a way to like communicate that I found it was just easier for me to do.
Cool. And I know I told you this last time, but yeah, I didn't realize until recently that you were a playwright. So can you talk more about like, because you went to school. Wait, so did you go to school for playwriting specifically, or it was just like theater?
I went to school.
How does that?
Yeah, I went to school for playwriting specifically, but it was like a theater conservatory. So it's a theater school at DePaul University. And that was not like how I thought that my journey was going to go, because even though I did theater in high school, I was like really not sure that that's where I wanted to end up. But my grades in high school weren't great. And so I was really struggling getting into other like arts programs or especially writing programs, because I was like, writing seemed like a really good mix of both of my interests, like comic arts and, doing theater. It was like, was writing and dialogue writing. And so, but I was like struggling to get into writing programs. And so then my grades weren't horrible. They were fine. But then I applied to DePaul, which where the theater school is. And I had a really great professor interview me. And I think he was like, oh, you don't have to worry about like submitting your SAT tests or anything. Like just, interview and we'll like chat and have a one-on-one. And I got in. And so I was super lucky, and I moved to Chicago. And even though I didn't see myself being at like a playwriting school, I was not looking really at BFA programs or conservatory programs at all. It just ended up that someone took a chance on me, and it was cool. It was a really cool opportunity.
When did you start incorporating or start visual arts? Because you said that at that time, like cartooning was already part of your interest.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like that?
Yeah, sorry. For sure. No, definitely. So I was always doing like Adventure Time fan art. And I had like read some comics, but like all of the comics available to me were like Marvel and DC. And it's like, that's not my like vibe. And so I went to a local Sacramento used bookstore called Beers Books. And I found my first ever small press graphic novel, which is Black is the Color by, I should have looked up her name, Julia Tharazos. She's great. And it like was so beautiful and intricate and unlike anything I'd ever read before. And so I was like, I gotta like look into like, I looked up the publisher, and then I just started like getting into just small press stuff in general. And I started doing diary comics. I've always kind of done diary comics, but I started after I discovered Black's the Color, I started doing diary comics more seriously than I think I had ever done them before. I started really kind of committing to making a gouache painting every day. And then by the time I got to Chicago, I went to the Chicago Alternative Comics Expo called Cake. And it was like, that's where I really had one of those moments in my life where I was like, it was like an awakening, like these are my people. This is like where the things in my life, like all my interests, I felt like they were kind of like leading me to sort of the small press scene and the illustration scene and the printmaking scene and the zine scene that was happening like in Chicago at that time. And I just like bought everything, and I would go to my school's library and like check out all the like small press comic books they had. Like every time they had like a tiny graphic novel section, I probably got like everything in that section. And I just started really jamming out these gouache diary comics, which to me, if you know the artist Tara Booth, I feel like they were like a direct rip-off stylistically of her work. And so then I sort of started like more getting into, I think, a less painterly, more straight cartoony style, especially after reading like certain comic books or certain graphic novels, like Lynda Barry definitely was a huge influence on me. She had a comic strip called Ernie, Pooks, Comeeks. And when I discovered that was like, okay, I gotta start doing more pen and ink stuff. And the Nancy comics, hugely influential on me. And so yeah, I think that's kind of, it all really came together the first time I went to the Chicago Alternatives Comics Festival. Like that's what I wanted to start to really putting a lot more time and energy into than playwriting. But I think also like just having access to graphic novels and to small press books was like a big game changer as well, versus just like cartoons on Cartoon Network. That was like a huge bonus.
Yeah. Since like that kind of started happening while you were in school and like studying playwriting, because like how many years left of your school program did you have like during that time of your life, do you think?
I think I went to my first Chicago Alternative Comics Expo my sophomore year of college. So I had already been reading some graphic novels from the library by then, like the Hernandez Brothers, More Julia. I gotta look up how to say her last name because I have read like all of her books. She's so great. Vanessa Davis, also a huge influence. But I'd been reading like a lot of graphic novels from my library. And then when I saw the poster for Cake, it was held at this place called the Center on Halstead, which was by a train stop that I went every day. So sometimes like if I wanted to just like get off the train and get like a coffee or something, I would like get off at that stop because it's a pretty central area of the north side of Chicago. And then when I saw the poster, just I think probably by like the Belmont stop, I was like, I literally, this is so bad, but I like took it down because I was like, I can't forget this.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think my friend who I went to the first one with still has that poster. I remember it so clearly. Now, I was going to say it was done by Anya Davidson, but I think next year's was done by Anya Davidson. But I just,
that's funny.
Yeah, I took it down because I was like, I can't. Like something was pulling me to go to the Chicago Alternative Comics Expo. And then when I went, I was just like, this is it. And I went the first day and then I went the next day. And I waited all year. Like I would go to Quimby's, which is a comic book store in Chicago. And I would like look for like any signs of the next one because for some reason I didn't like check on Instagram
online.
But I was just obsessed. And so that was probably my sophomore year. And by that time, I mean, and I went into playwriting school thinking like, this is great. This is a great opportunity. I'm going to see where it leads me. But I'm just like, I could already feel sort of like my heart kind of pulling me in another direction from like the craft of theater, just being, even though I think theater is awesome and live performance is so cool. And I'll still definitely take any theater opportunities or, write a play. I'll never say no to anything, but I think I could feel my heart wanting to go into a different direction because I just felt really limited by theater and, by like, I think, theater can be so serious. At least the stuff that I think we were asked to make in school was they wanted us to be so serious. Because I think they wanted us to explore what it was like to be producing more serious work. But I I could just feel my heart wanting to do something else. And so discovering Cake couldn't have come at like a better time for me.
So do you feel like in that time of your life, like while you're still going to school for playwriting, but you start like kind of discovering this other world, I guess like what was your outlook on like, I'm doing this thing, but I think I'm really more interested in this. And then I guess like your outlook on what you kind of like wanted to do for your craft, I guess, and like finishing school and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. Like when I think back on those times, I remember a lot of feeling like, kind of like, I really wanted to go to college. I really, really wanted to be in college. So I really, like, I took a ton of classes. I loaded up my schedule with as many classes as I could. I really liked going to school. And so when I think back, I just remember feeling like, kind of like thinking that theater was something that I was just going to do for school and not going to do for my career. Then when I, like, discovering comics, it kind of was like, well, this, and illustration, but it was like, this could be possibly, like, at first, you know, you just have that mindset where you're like, well, maybe I could do this, and then that could lead to this. And of course, like, you discover that, like, art practice shouldn't be about, you know, creating paths for yourself. Like, the practice is the path, like, doing it is the path. And anything that comes afterwards is just, like, extra cool stuff. But, like, really the path to, like, becoming for me, comics were a path to becoming a more integrated self, a more, like, well-rounded self. And so, like, I just think I remember feeling like, okay, theater is just something I'm doing right now for school. And I love being in school. And theater is a way for me to be in school right now. Like, theater is a way for me to go to college. Everything else is really what I'm going to do for my life and in the real world once I'm out of school. And it was just like, now looking back, I can think how silly that was, but like, that's, I think, how I could compartmentalize it for myself. And now I kind of feel like, you know, if you're a multi-disciplinary artist, you just kind of have to be, like, about it, you know what I mean? And I really struggle with it still. Like, I super struggle with it because it's, like, hard to be about two things at once. Like, it's really, really difficult, but I'm trying to get better at being that way. But I think if I had just done theater, like, if I had just decided that theater was going to be my thing, and I like drawing and creating art was, like, a hobby instead of a practice, I would have really been super sad, because I think comics like transformed me. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I always, like, wonder about, like, that, I guess, like, that time.
Yeah.
Those times in people's lives, just because I feel like I'm also, in a way, like, still there. I mean, I feel like there's always in a way, like, or for me, I'm, like, discovering myself, and, like, how that plays into, like, my creative practice. But yeah, it's just super interesting to me to, like, kind of understand other people's journey with that, and, like, school and career and just like life stuff.
Yeah. Right now I'm, like, trying to think of art making in general as, like, almost as all of it. This is going to sound a little like wooey, but I'm trying to think of it as, like, art is everything. So, like, everything feeds into art, and then art feeds into everything else. And so, like I was saying, especially with my wrist, I realized how much art actually feeds into me, like, connecting with other people. And so then when I'm connecting with people without art, that will feed my art later. Like, it's all one thing. And so, like, I have to kind of remind myself that it's not truly separate disciplines. It's me, the artist, like, just tapping into different experiences as I go through, like, my week or my month or my year or whatever. And it's all one big organism.
Yeah, cool. So, like I've mentioned to you before, I, like, love your style. I love your characters, Spike Winch, and I love, like, her eyes, her hair, like, I don't know, it just makes me so happy, you know. And I just love, like the topics and, like, themes that you explore with your comics.
Thank you.
Can you talk about, like, the evolution of your style and, I guess, like, your voice with your comics and your art?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, I feel like I said, when I was first starting to paint stuff and make stuff, I was like, I feel like I was just ripping off Tara Booth. But like also, I mean, it was fine because I
feel like, that happens like when you're starting something, you kind of just like copy.
Right, like straight up. And so, but also other artists like Vanessa Davis, whose graphic novel Make Me a Woman, and it's the name of a dog is her other one, but maybe Spanish Cocker Spaniel or something. But she has another book that's the name of a dog breed. But Vanessa Davis, Tara Booth, these were all, who else was a huge influence on me? I'll probably think about it. Lisa Hannawalt, I would say for sure. But these were artists where like I felt like I was seeing their stuff, and I was really jiving with a really like open diary comic style, like auto-bio, super intimate. It felt really just so brave to me. And at first I was just, because I had been doing diary comics, I felt like home. So I just was like jamming out diary comics and super, I think, open auto-bio stuff. But then like, I think a couple big things happened with Spike Wench and her style. One was I discovered the Nancy comics, and I was like, what if I could try to find a way to do something kind of like auto-bio, but like more comic strip style, like more cute and little and really short bursts. And I also discovered an artist, Bianca Zuniz. They are a non-binary Chicago comic artist, and they are syndicated with the comic Six Chicks. And I discovered them.
I think I saw like that being posted a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they are a huge inspiration, just a really cool artist. I subscribe to their Patreon, and that is the gift that keeps giving. But like, so I found them and Lynda Barry's Ernie Pooks comics. And so I was really like, okay, I really was focusing on like, how do I make something that's like a strip, that's like a comic strip from the Sunday Funnies, but is this character of myself that I've kind of been developing over the years with these diary comics. And during the pandemic, I was like workshopping a bunch of ways to draw this character, but they were all painted. They were all gouache paintings because that was kind of my style at the time. And then I listened to a podcast, and I found the podcast. It's called Gutter Boys. It's very naughty. It's a very inappropriate podcast. But Jasper Jubinville, who does the Dynamite Diva comics, dropped that he uses a 102 nib pen, speedball nib pen, and India ink. And I was like, I love Jasper's style. Like, maybe I could try it out, like pen and ink. And at first, I was like, I can't afford any art supplies. So I just bought a gel pen, like a classic gel pen, because I was like, this is the closest thing I could get. And I got them free for my work. So I was like, I could bought a gel pen. I think it had a spaceship on the end. And I was like doing that for a while, just trying pen and ink for pretty much the first time, and sticking to only that, like trying to do her where I did only that. And that's how I got the kind of hair zigzag, and the hair shape was just like in gouache. I was doing these really pretty pointy strokes with the character's hair, but I was like, okay, if I'm only limited to pen and ink, how can I do it? So then I committed. I went to my local art store, and I got like a dip nib pen, a 102, and some speedball ink, and that was like, I feel like I really unlocked that style because I was using those really traditional comic and cartoonist mediums. Like, it was such a, it really did unlock, I think, something for me. And, you know, too, when you're working with a pen and ink like that, where it can be so unpredictable and you have to like break them in, and, you know, you're really, I think I find that I'm kind of limited a lot of the time, and I don't want to work more than I have to because the pens are so unpredictable. So that's why I feel like, because at first Spike Wench's eyes were kind of like Cupid eyes, like that Cupid shape. And then it just became the 2 dots and the dot for the nose. And like, I feel like she gets simpler and simpler every time. And it's just because like the pen and ink is like, I get an ink splotch on every single thing I make. And it's like, it's just fine. But that's sort of how I developed her look, was just kind of like doing a lot of reading and inspo, and then like really letting the medium kind of guide help guide into the what I wanted, the form of whatever I wanted to create, which was a different way than I've ever, I think, worked before. And so I think that's why it helps create such a unique character. Like, versus usually I have an idea of what I want to make, and then I try to find the best medium for it. This time I felt like I was open to whatever the medium would like show me through just constantly drafting with pen and ink and learning how to do pen and ink. And I'm still learning. Like, I'm still trying to figure out like things like cross contouring and like cross hatch and all that stuff, because I'm like I don't have like a visual arts education. So I'm definitely still learning, but that's been super helpful in making her style.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on like what you were saying about letting kind of like the medium, being open to like the look, and then like going with the medium to kind of show you. Yeah. Do you feel like since before you would kind of have like a vision in your mind and then try to create it? Only I'm asking because I have like a problem with, I feel like, control. Yeah. Do you feel like switching to that kind of like process, like did that kind of help you like loosen up with drawing? It definitely did.
I think sometimes even though it sounds like I'm talking down to myself, but I'm not, but like, I think sometimes saying to myself, like, I really don't know what I'm doing, it kind of frees you up, because it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, you're free to do whatever. And and so I think that's really helpful. Like for me was the not knowing really what I was doing, and it helped me let go of control. But I mean, especially leaving gouache, I haven't left gouache, but transitioning from really a really painterly style, that was a big loss of control. And it makes you like, I don't know, it makes you kind of, sad isn't the right word, but like it makes you like, every time your style sort of transitions, you're like, oh man, like you really do have to relinquish a lot of control. And so that was, it was interesting. It was like a transition for sure.
Do you feel like you are very prolific, or you create a lot of work? Because I feel like you do create a lot of work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm at this is something where I actually have like my mantra right now is just quantity over quality. I think I was saying that. I know that like, because one thing I like about comics and I like about illustration is I like though it's like, I'm not creating like a masterwork, I'm not like, and shout out to people who do, like that is straight up takes so much love and energy and heart and dedication. But for me, I'm really trying to jam some stuff out because I really want to like, I don't know. I think my dream, I think I was telling you, like my secret dream in my heart is to be like syndicated and to have like my own comic strip. And so getting into the practice of just like, pushing stuff out there. And hey, if it doesn't work, like it doesn't work, you know what I mean? If you don't like it, you pick up the pen and try again. I think that's our making practice that really works for me, just like jamming it out. But it does mean the downside of that means I do think like you do for just as much work that I'm proud of and that I love, I have this equal amount of stuff that I'm like, but you learn from that stuff too, you know, but like,
Yeah.
It also is kind of hard because like people who I feel like make really beautiful like originals, like they can then sell those originals. I've been posting originals and like I'm like I could only find like 3 I'd be willing to sell because they're all on like copy paper. Like they're just not like that quality of stuff. But you know, whatever.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How do you, because if I'm correct, you work outside of, like you have a regular job that you also, is it a full-time job or part-time?
No, it's part-time. I'm very lucky to be able to sustain myself on part-time work. That's the
because I was wondering, like, I feel like even working part-time, like, since to me you do create like a lot of work, I'm just like wondering how like you navigate
it's like
your time and stuff like that.
I mean, time is the ultimate treasure, man. Like it is for sure. That is the challenge of my life, like just trying to navigate time to be human, and to like see my family, see my friends, grocery shop, feed myself, and also have a really good art process as well as go to work. It is a constant back and forth. In my dream world, I never have to go to work again, but you know, and just have because it's
we all want that,
right? It's just really hard. I mean, like, I think I just recently moved in with my boyfriend, and part of the reason why we wanted to live together is he was like, you know, like it was hard for both of us because when I get home from work, I have to make stuff. When I wake up before work, I have to make stuff. And he was just like, you know, I'm happy to be with you while you're making stuff. And I have no problem with that either. I don't need to be like isolated while I'm inking in something, you know. But he's like, but it's like difficult because like I never see you if I, you know, don't want to be holed up in your apartment watching you ink a comic. And so I'm so happy we live together now, because before, trying to find a balance of like maintaining healthy relationships with my job and with the people in my life and with my work was just really, really challenging. And it still is challenging. I mean, I haven't got it figured out. I think that's also another way where quantity over quality helps. Because if you're not telling yourself, I have to make this perfect thing now, today, that's extremely technically challenging as well as emotionally satisfying. If you're just telling yourself, man, I'm just making this comic that I think is going to make me laugh. I hope it's going to make someone else laugh. Like if your goal is just to share, which my goal right now kind of is, to share and to develop my own style, then I can get it all done. But it would be, I can't imagine if I was in a more technically challenging art medium, like something like oil painting or something. Yeah. God, it must just be a real challenge, because those mediums require like a lot of time, and it's just really, I feel the pressure of time enough as it is, and so that is the hard question. That is the hard thing. My advice would be to rob a bank to all artists as soon as possible. But like that is, during the pandemic, the reason why I think I developed my style so much during the pandemic was because I was collecting unemployment checks. And I made art all day. And so it was like, actually, even though it was a horrible time for our nation, professionally, it was a great time for me. And I know a lot of other artists, I think, kind of experienced the same. Like I got laid off and I was at first gutted because I really loved my part-time job. And then after that, I was like, wait, okay, I can't find work because nobody's hiring because it's the pandemic, and I can collect unemployment, and I've just made so much art, and I was able to develop a character and a style and a story arc, and it was just a great time.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people kind of like say the same thing. And because honestly, like I still had like a part-time job during the pandemic, but I would always be like wishing like, I hope they lay me off and I can collect unemployment, because I think it would have been like more money than I was making anyway. So I was like, yeah.
No, I feel you. Eventually I had to get a part-time job. Because I just had to sustain myself. But but like even that part-time job, a family gave me part-time work as a tutor. And so like a family I knew from childhood. And so that was also an extremely fulfilling job, because I got to bounce ideas for like a comic off of an 8-year-old. And he was like, maybe you should have a bird pooping on our head. And I was like, genius. Like, you're so brilliant. And so that was cool. He's too old for me now, but for me to tutor him now, but I wish I could still have that job. That was awesome. But so some jobs can be fulfilling. Like some jobs can lead into your art practice, but it's pretty rare. And it's a pretty rare find.
Hello, I'm interrupting today's episode for a little announcement. I wanted to let you know that listeners of the podcast can get a free sticker that I designed for the show. It's totally free. All you have to do is leave a written review for the show on Apple Podcasts, and then you can screenshot your review and email it or DM it to me along with your mailing address, and I will mail you the sticker. You can view the sticker on our TikTok or Instagram. I'll leave a link and instructions below in the show notes. But leave us a written review to get yourself a cute free sticker. I'm really excited. I really like the sticker, so I hope you like it too. All right, now I will get back to the episode.
I know there's only maybe like 15-ish minutes left. I wanted to kind of ask more about your actual process. Like, how do you like collect your or keep track of your ideas? Do you do like thumbnails, or do you go through like different revisions? And like how long, like maybe from like idea to like finished product, would something take you?
Yeah, so like I think the best time for me to get ideas is usually I have to like kind of like, sometimes it's great when I just get ideas, from the universe or whatever. But a lot of time I have to like kind of trigger myself to get in the right headspace to be thinking about comics. So for me, that's like listening to music, like Kurt Weill is a big influence, but going for walks, or like being in nature, riding my bike, but having a beer on the porch. Those are all places where I like, usually I'm like, okay, I have to put myself in those situations to get ideas for comics. And then after I get the idea, if I have time, I try to get sketching that night or that day, whatever. And I don't do thumbnails. I have done thumbnails a couple times, and I'm just somebody who is totally reliant on my sketches. I like do a lot of penciling before. So I like will sketch it out pretty much almost exactly like how I want it. And usually that's about it. That's a day's work for me. Like getting the idea and then penciling it out is like a day's work. And then the next day I can do all the wet media stuff. So whether that's using watercolor to color it in and then inking, or if it's just inking. But for me, so much of my process is about really that penciling. That's where a lot of stuff is done. And I think I told you last time that the other thing that I do is I don't have the words until usually like the watercolor stage. I don't know what it's going to say. And for that, a lot of the time too, I think this comes from the background in theater, is I'll workshop the words with like people who I like. So like my boyfriend, my best friend, my mom, my sister, but like I'll kind of go back and forth. Like what what should the punchline be on this? Or what should that say? Or like, how do I tweak this, to be funny? And so I'll kind of workshop Spike Wench's words or the captions or whatever. But I don't have any of those figured out until like at the watercolor stage, at least. Usually a lot of times it's even until after I'm done inking. And a lot of times too, on my older work, you'll see all of the words are written. Well, I can see it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but on Procreate. Because even after I'm done inking, I'm still not like sold on that joke. And so then I usually go over it. I'll do it in Procreate after I've scanned in the image. And I don't know why, but that's been how the process works. I think because the whole idea concept of comics is images plus words, and so ideally I'd like my images to say a lot, to convey the feeling, to convey the tone, to convey things like that, and then the words to just really hit the joke. Do you know what I mean? Like to just land the bit or the moment, or because sometimes it's not always a joke, but like stuff like that, Yeah.
Cool. I told you last time, I have one of your prints. The little freak lives here. Yeah. I love that one. And so I was wondering about like, when did you get started like selling like prints and stickers? How did you decide like you wanted to start doing that, or that it would be, I guess, worth it?
Yeah.
And like, what has that been like for you? Having a shop.
I think I always wanted to do it, even from the early days of Chicago, Alternative Comics Expo. I always wanted to put printed media out there, but I was really nervous about it because I was like, I can't just give it away. It's too expensive to make, but I don't know anyone. I'm like, I don't know anyone that'll buy it. But so then I did my first postcard. I made a postcard with Moo in 2020, and that was my first thing. And I think I just I can't remember even how I sold it now. Maybe on like Wix or something. I don't even know. But when I got them back, I really didn't like the way they looked. And so I was like, I can't use this. And I was really disappointed. And so I didn't make them again until like almost the end of 2020, when I made, I think like a Possum Princess print and some other prints. And that one, I was like, I'm going to do it right. And I looked up a local printmaker and I contacted him, and overall, and then it sort of just kept going from there. Overall, the experience of having a shop has been totally worth it, especially because it's allowed me to meet people and connect with people. Because I think, when I'm posting stuff online, I might get people who comment, but it's not until people get stuff in the mail and then they'll post it and then tag me, and then I can go and say, hey, what's up? Thank you so much for buying that. Or I can include a note in an order, But so that's been the real nice thing is it's different than just sharing stuff online, where it sort of goes out to this either it's a tangible thing. And I think it makes it real for other people, and it makes it real for me. And so I've loved that about it. That's been the best thing about printmaking. And I just started getting into screen printing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
cool.
I have a design right now. I can't draw, but I was I can monk around on Photoshop and stuff. So I've made a Calico Critters t-shirt design. Do you know Sylvania?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm so excited to screen print that. And I've screen printed a couple of prints in my screen printing class, but I take at the community college, which is a great idea for anyone just to take a class at their community college. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But and so I really want to get into, and now I make my own prints. I was able to, from the proceeds, I think of my Linger print, my Cranberries song print.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to buy myself a printer. And so I'm making my own prints at home, which is great. And like, that's been like the best, because I'm like a little shop. I gotta do a shop update. But like, I found the whole experience super rewarding. It's something, the goal of mine is to be more consistent with it, but I love it. Oh my God. I love having a shop. It is the best.
This is maybe kind of random, but since you brought up like the calico critters and stuff, because I know you're on TikTok, right? Because I follow you on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen on TikTok this account that's like Sylvanian dramas.
Yes.
It's like they do like these like really ridiculous skits with the calico critters.
Yes, I'm obsessed with them. I love Sylvanian dramas. Yeah, I'm addicted to TikTok. I am like, I actually deleted it today because I was like, yesterday I was on it for like 2 hours. So I'm like, I love that app.
Yeah, me too.
That's been such a good way to like grow your following more than Instagram. TikTok has been awesome for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, for your shop and your sales and stuff, are most of the sales like from your existing followers, or do like people who don't previously follow you, have they found your work, or it's like they followed you before and then like they buy your stuff?
Yeah, for the Linger print, so that was the print I made based off of the Cranberry song Linger. For that print, that was like exclusively through TikTok. People found me for the very first time, and they were the ones who like sold out my print for that one. And so I feel like it's all been through social media, but only recently has it been, and like friends I know in person and online too, but through TikTok was when I was really able to like sell out for the first time, like sell out in a night. And then the next time I posted another round, like sell out of those. And it was crazy. I've never known anything like that. And that was after like 2 years of making prints, almost 2 years of making prints. And so TikTok was really, really helpful for that. But Instagram's good for it too. A lot of the people who buy stuff from my shop are either people I know in person or Instagram or TikTok followers. That's pretty much exclusively it. And then I want to get into vending, like at art markets and stuff too. I've done like one, and I've applied for a few others. So I definitely want to get into that more, so I can be like in person.
Yeah.
Selling
then
stuff.
You can like meet other like artists and stuff in person too. Yeah. I do want to try to do that too, but I'm still like, I don't have like a shop or anything. But I'm kind of like experimenting with things right now. I made like a couple stickers and stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to like see and build up and see if I'll apply to like some in-person stuff too.
Yeah. So. I found a local artist who's making cloth stickers. So there's no plastic, like he's printing on this cloth with just like a really light adhesive backing. And it wouldn't be like waterproof for anything, but I really want to get into that, because the only thing that's hard about stickers is all the plastic. But yeah, but I still love
that's
stickers.
Super interesting. I've never really heard of like a fabric sticker.
Yeah, I've never seen it before either. So I'm trying to like think. The only thing is they can't die cut it, so they can't cut it into shapes. It's just like circle or squares. And so I got to come up with a design for that. But yeah, stickers, pins, patches. I mean, those are like so cool. And I really want to branch more into that than just prints. It's just prints they're so like, everybody likes prints in there.
Yeah.
And they're easy to print. And so it's like, it's like prints are nice for that reason. But same with shirts. I really want to get into like shirts and totes and stuff. Yeah,
you think you're gonna like screen print some?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna screen print that calico critter design. Probably shirts for like my friends or somebody who like DMs me and wants one. But like totes for the shop for sure. Just because I don't want to like go through the hassle of having to buy like a certain amount of each size. Yeah. So I think I'll do totes of the calico critter design. and put those in the shop. Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I've been like workshopping it, so I'm super excited to roll it out. Yeah. Once old wristy gets better.
Yeah. So before we go, I did want to ask, you did mention before about like one of your like dream projects to be syndicated. Yeah, could you just maybe talk about that, and if you have any other like dream goals?
Yeah, for sure. So like I definitely want to be like a syndicated cartoonist. I want Spike Wench to have a comic strip, whether it's like in a magazine or a newspaper. I would just love that weekly or daily goal of producing a strip comic. That would be my like dream. And I just think it'd be really fun. Yeah. But like I think other goals for myself are definitely learning how to screen print was a huge goal for myself. So I'm happy that I like did it. And so getting more into printmaking. And then another big goal is to like really release some zines and comic books specifically about Spike Wench. I have one that I'm formatting right now that's just a collection of a lot of Spike Wench comics. And then right before I broke my wrist, I was drawing and inking a new comic, which is all about work, actually, like jobs, different jobs that I've worked in that I've sort of made Spike Wench work as well. And so putting out some like just little floppy comic books. And definitely eventually I would love to be syndicated. That's like the dream for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exciting too about the comic books and stuff. I'll definitely be on the lookout for those because, yeah, I just love Spike Wench and all of her shenanigans and stories.
Thank you. Yeah, her little dirtbag adventures. Yeah, I love her. She's like, yeah. So I'm excited to put those out there.
Yeah, cool. Just one last question, which is, what do you like to do for fun, like outside of your art practice?
Yeah. God, I used to be like, I love to ride my bike, but I don't know when the next time I'll be getting on a bike. But I do like to ride my bike. I like to go for walks. I live in my hometown, so I love to just like be in my hometown, go to my local dive bar, sit on my back porch and drink a beer with my sweetie, but definitely just really like local behavior. I am like a local, if nothing else. And so
I love that.
Yeah. So that's definitely what I like to do.
Cool. I just had a like random question for myself. Your bike, what kind of bike do you have?
I have two bikes. I have one that's like my neighborhood bike. I call her Dilly, and she's a Columbia Roadster. So like a road bike from the 60s. Mm-hmm. And then I have a 10-speed, probably from like the 80s. And that's the one I got in the accident with. And she's great. Her name's Big Red. And I love her, but we're beefing right now because that accident sucked. And so, but no, she's great. She has to go into the shop because she has some stuff that's wrong with her. But like, yeah, I love both my bikes.
Yeah. Did you get those like second hand or? Yeah. Cause I don't really know like a lot about bikes, but I used to ride my bike like a lot in like high school, but it was just like this random bike that my grandfather had gotten for me from like a swap meet. Yeah. But it like worked so good, and it had like a bike rack in the back, and like I put my little basket and I just like went everywhere with it. Yeah. And like recently a couple years ago I got a bike from like Amazon, but it feels really dinky. But I'm trying to like still like I'm just trying to ride it more and like do like errands and stuff on it. So I'm always like super interested in like when people like use their bike if daily.
As long as you get a good frame, that's what's key, is like finding a good frame, because then you can trick out everything else. But like a good frame will last you forever. But yeah, I love my bike. Oh, I love riding bikes. My dream is to have one of those like really tricked out 60s bikes with like the really big seat and like the handlebars, like the banana seat and the like streamers and like like a big horn, like a Pee-wee's Big Adventure type crazy bike. And so that's
Lily's Big Adventure.
Lily's Big Adventure, exactly. Cool.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Lily, aka Goofwench. I'll leave all of her social and website information and links in the show notes so you can check them out and follow her if you don't already. And at the time that this episode is airing, there are a few announcements that she has posted about. So on September 4th, she's going to be exhibiting at the San Francisco Zine Fest. So she's going to be selling prints, pins, and zines there. And then if you're in the Los Angeles area, which I am, so I'm definitely going to go see this, a play that she wrote called Desert Stories for Lost Girls is going to be premiering at the end of September. And it's a collaboration between the Latino Theater Company and Native Voices in LA, and that runs through October. And then she has a big shop update coming at the beginning of October. Again, like I said, you can follow her to keep up with all of those announcements. Leave a review if you enjoyed the episode and if you've been enjoying the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast if you're not already, and you can follow us as well on social media. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.